To use Engage Consult as a patient, I can either go via the NHS app to submit a request, via the practice's website, or maybe the practice has sent a link to me to access this service. So there's a variety of ways I can access this as a patient. So I'm on the example website at the moment for my practice, and as I scroll down, you can see they've advertised Engage Consult and they've used our banner, which when I click through, goes to the practice's patient portal. On the patient portal, the practices can customise it to display various links for signposting patients off to the relevant service. So on our test site here, you can see we've added various links for repeat prescriptions, for example, or self-referral to an MSK physio service. So I'm going to request help from the surgery, and it asks me if I'd like to log into my account or continue as a guest user. So this is configurable by the practices on what avenue they want their patient to access the service. But if I continued as a guest user, I could submit a request on behalf of a patient, maybe that's phoned into the surgery. So I can pop down who is submitting the request and who the request is for. I'm going to log into my account. It's auto-filled my details there, and I can either continue to NHS login, log in using my account, or sign up for an account as well. And you can see here we promote to use the NHS login, so if I click continue to NHS login, it would take me to the NHS login page to submit my details. As Ian already has an account, I'm going to log into his account to access the service. It asks me who I'd like to access the service for, so that can either be for myself or for one of my dependents, so if I'm a carer or a parent, so I can add someone else into my account as well. As a patient, I can click the self-help link, type in my problem and click search to see any helpful self-help links information there, so I can visit that link and get self-help information. And I'm going to request help from the surgery. So it asks me to confirm the following statements are correct. So that it's not an emergency, and in an emergency please call 999 immediately, and I can click for further information on that, which takes me to the NHS page about when to call 999. That I'm registered with the practice and currently in the UK, and I understand if my condition gets worse before I receive a reply, I need to seek alternative help, and that I accept the end user license agreement. So I'm going to confirm these statements are correct and continue through. And then it asks me what best describes my request. So is it an administrative query or question, or is it a medical problem? So I'm going to select administrative query. You can see it's telling me that we're outside of the service hours for today's online administrative requests, and the earliest you will receive a response is the next working day, and I can click to show the service hours as well. It also gives me information around NHS 111 and 999 depending on what the request is for, and I can click to see the service hours for this service. So I can still continue through, but I now know that my request won't be able to be seen today. So I can select one of these options, type in my free text comment, and upload any relevant files or photos. So I'm going to go back and show you the medical route. So if I had a medical problem, I'd select a medical problem. Again, select who I'd like help from. How I would describe this problem, so is it a new problem, I've been asked to get back in touch, or a problem with existing condition. Type in my problem, so for this one I'm going to type in flu. I can type in another problem or continue through. It then brings up this attention box to show me information around the flu, and maybe this service isn't appropriate for me, so it has various links there I can visit to seek alternative help if I need to. So I've clicked I've understood, and now it takes me to the self-help link page, so I can visit this self-help link around the flu, potentially get the information I need, and then not need to contact the surgery. it asks me, did I find that information useful? And do I still need to contact them? So potentially at this point I've got the information I need. So I could put no, I do not need to continue this request. So the surgery will not see the request I'm now submitting. If I do still need to contact the surgery, I can click yes and carry on with my request. And then it goes into the questionnaire around flu. These are a series of structured and configurable questions relevant to their medical inquiry. This will then be transmitted securely to a clinician for a consultation. So as I go through and answer, if I'm unsure, I can skip the question and I can go back to the previous question if I need to change my answer. It then asks if I want to upload a file as long as I follow the guidelines, and it takes me to my computer browser to upload that. So I can select one of my files, select open and continue through and consent to the sending and storing of this photograph or document for the purpose of my care. So I'm going to continue through. It gives me my request details and the medical problems I reported, and I can type in any additional information around this request as well. I can download a copy for myself as a patient so I know what I've sent through to the surgery, and then I can click send, and that has now been submitted to the surgery. And you can see here this message here is configurable, so you can pop in your response hours, any information that the patient may need to know. So I can then go through and answer a feedback survey around, have I used this service before? Compared with how you usually contact us, is the system better, same or worse? Would you recommend it to other patients? And what was your experience using Engage Consult today? So you can fill out the feedback questionnaire. Once it's been submitted, it confirms that, and I can continue through. I'm now going to log in as Kimberly, the GP receptionist. So I'm going to log in via the toolbar, click login, and as you can see, it brings up my toolbar and it tells me how many requests I've got to deal with from patients currently. So when I click open client, it opens up the engaged client so I can now view my requests from the patients. So I'm going to view the unread request at the top there. I'm going to scroll down the request to see what the request is around. And you can see at the top it says it's a medical request and they've requested help from anyone. And as I scroll down, I can see everything that that patient saw when they submitted that request. So as I scroll up, I can acknowledge that message from the patient. I decide that I need to assign this to Dr. Smith, so I'm going to go into assign to and select the group or colleague that I think is best placed to deal with this request. So I'm typing in Dr. Smith, I'm going to click assign, and you can now see when we go back to our requests that that request is assigned to Dr. Smith. I can go to my account and cover any groups and colleagues that are appropriate to see the request inside those groups and colleagues. I'm now going to filter my requests, so I can select filters and do it by various filters. I'm going to select request type, so I can filter out and just see admin, medical, health data or outbound patient messages. So I'm going to untick health data, admin and outbound patient message to just show the medical requests we have received from patients. If another colleague was dealing with a request, it would show me that the message is locked, so I know that another colleague is dealing with that request and we can't both make changes at the same times. You can also see if I click into view that request, it tells me that this message is currently locked while it's being viewed by and who it's being viewed by. On request, you can also go and assign a priority to the request, whether it's urgent, same day, routine. You can save that reason. So I've marked this one as same day. So when I go back to my requests, I can order by priority and it will order those requests by the priority we have assigned to that request. So I'm now going to log in as Dr. Smith, and as you can see, I've got a new request assigned to myself. So I can see it's a medical request and that's been assigned to me and it's got a same day priority tag. So I'm going to click to view that request. I can scroll down and see what's happened with this request so far. I can click to open the patient record in the clinical system from here. So I can open up this patient in EMIS, look at any details that are relevant, and as I go back to the engaged client, I can then type a message to the patient via our two-way patient messaging service. So it goes straight to the patient's account, so it doesn't incur the practice any costs. I also have the option to use a message template if I had one set up, so I could autofill this response to the patient to save time. So once I'm happy with my message, I can add any attachments to that message as well. I'm going to send that to the patient. And the attachments can be from my computer system or from the patient's clinical record. I also want to offer this patient an appointment, so I've clicked on offer an appointment. And this will now send the appointment times to the patient so they can then book in for an appointment with me. So you can see from the patient side in their account, they've received a message. They can click they want to book an appointment to see the available sessions. Click on the appointment that best suits them. It confirms the appointment time I've selected. And then it allows me to cancel or reschedule if I need to. And you can see this appointment reflected in the clinical system. I'm now going to send the online consultation to the clinical system, so you can either send it to the clinical or send it to clinical and complete. I can select and deselect what I want to show in the clinical system, and once I'm happy with what's going to be sent, I can click send to clinical. You can now see this shows in EMIS, and I can open up the PDF attached to see the full online consultation. Dr. Smith are on the phone call together from the appointment they booked earlier, but Dr. Smith has decided he needs to start a video consultation with Ian instead, so he can actually see the rash that the patient has. So we're now going to send a video consultation link to the patient so we can switch over from a phone appointment to a video call appointment. So as you can see, so I've come off the phone call with that patient and I'm just writing a message to confirm that we're going to switch to a video appointment. So I've clicked on to start the video consultation. It's auto-populated that patient's mobile number for me, and I can click to add more participants, so I can have up to 4 people on the call. I can also copy the link, so I can send the link via SMS, I can send the link via email, or even via the two-way messaging feature we have. And I can send the link to my own SMS number. So if in practice I didn't have a computer with a working microphone and camera, I have the option to send it to a mobile phone device as well by SMS. It will bring up the call on a separate tab on my screen, and it will send the patient a message with the link that they can click on and access via a web browser and will be connected to the call. So now I've spoke to Ian on the phone and via a video call, I want to send him some information around what we've spoke about. So I've given the diagnosis, I think it could be chickenpox, and if the symptoms worsen, to contact the practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send over Ian a self-appointment booking link so he can use it if and when he needs it, and also I'm going to send over a link for the NHS conditions chickenpox page so we can see the self-help information around that condition as well. So I've sent that message to the patient, so I'm now going to click to send that to the patient. And when I go into the patient's account, you can see here that they've been sent that message and the NHS self-help link, and they've also got that appointment booking to be able to book an appointment when that suits them. So now I'm going to go back to the record and upload that to the clinical system. You can see that I can select and deselect what gets added to the clinical record. And I can also add any additional information in as well. And I get the option not to either send that to the clinical system or send to clinical and complete. So we're now attaching that to EMIS. It tells me it's attached, and you can now see it in the clinical record.